The story begins with our protagonist, Haejin, who was sitting in the class, admiring how great Korea is and how capitalism rocks. But in this country, if you are poor, you would be the prey of the rich, same as this girl. Some girls were bullying the poor girl, making her wear their dress and them calling her a pervert who seduces boys. They mock her, saying she wanted to seduce the new transfer student. They were talking about our protagonist, who was watching all this while eating a burger. The other bullies see him watching and think he was corky for watching and then ignoring him as if he didn't see anything. The bully throws away the burger that he was eating and starts calling him names like he was a piece of trash who came to South Korea from a shitty place. The other bullies were laughing at him as well, and they told the bully to stop pestering a loser like him. Haejin relaxes his body onto the chair and told the bully in a corky voice that he wanted to live, that North Korea was a shitty place to live in, and that how there were no burgers, cokes, or Nikes. The bully says that he should act like his pig dictator, Kim Jong-un. Haejin describes the bully's personality in 2 words: scum, filthy bastard. The atmosphere of the class completely changed. The bully was pissed now and attacks Haejin. Haejin grabs the Coke bottle and hit the bully with that, making him fall to the ground with a nosebleed. The whole class was shocked after seeing this. The other bully attacks him as well, but he easily blocks their attack and punches them first, and he was not holding back against them. He was brutal. During the fight, we come to know that he was a spy sent from North Korea. The older spies get caught easily, so they sent him at the young age of 18. After that, the class begins. The girl who was getting bullied was sitting next to Haejin. She was looking at Haejin, and when he looks back at her, she thanks him for what he did back there. He told her that he didn't do that for her, but she thanks him anyway. She told him about those guys, how they were the worst and no one could do anything against them, and they were not going to stay still after that. He told her that if she continues to live like that, she would get hurt badly one day, but that had nothing to do with him, so he told her to do what she wanted. He compliments her, saying the dress she was wearing looked good on her. In a bar, a guy was talking to someone on the phone. The guy on the phone was scolding him for letting that kid beat their goons and told him to take care of this mess. The guy calls him chairman and assures him, saying it all happened because he didn't go to school that day, and that he would take care of him before this matter goes any further. This guy was Yongjin High School's boss, Park Seung-do. They were wondering who was this transfer student who got into a fight with them just after his transfer. They wonder if he was sent by other groups to take over their school. They decided to teach him a lesson for messing with them. The next day at school, that bullied girl asks Haejin for his help with the trash bags. After throwing the trash, she asks him if he run away from North Korea because he wanted to live. She told him that South Korea might not be so different from North. She starts crying, saying she wanted to live too, and we see the boss of that high school was there with his goons. They were the ones who made her do that, but they get surprised when Haejin says he was waiting for them, and that he came there knowing that. Seung-do gets annoyed with his corky attitude and asks him what his motives were. Was it to conquer the school? Haejin agrees with him. He said that he wanted to make money just like them and make connections with the higher-ups. They were shocked to hear that because it was some top secret stuff that not many people know of. But Seung-do wasn't planning on playing around from the start, and more guys come there as well. Seung-do give him an offer to work under his command because he needed guys like him. He would even pay him monthly, and could also go out with the girl that brought him there as a bonus. Being in a gang like that was the perfect cover for a spy. He told them that he was planning to go out with that girl from the start after seeing her in that outfit. He asks them if he could do whatever he wanted with her. The boss admires him for his manliness. He says to the girl in a cold voice that he had told him this would happen if she doesn't change. The girl was completely stunned and started crying. Seung-do gives him $200 as a bonus. Haejin says to the girl that from now on, she belonged to him, and told her not to cry the next time but to fight instead. He punches Seung-do and his blood splatters everywhere. With just that one punch, he was down. Everyone there was baffled. Haejin knows that being on their side would be the best cover for him, but he doesn't care now. The other goons attack him at once and their bloody fight begins. He remembers his childhood and his sister. How he had to train from the beginning when he was just a child. And the training was so brutal, many kids gave up and took their own life to get away from that hellish life. For him, running away wasn't an option. If he wants to live, he had to be the one who beats both the North and South. And that's how, from the 505 Special Forces, Im Haejin begins the school takeover. Now we see how they used to train them in North Korea. One of the high-ranking officers recognizes Haejin as a valuable fighter. He was strong, smart, and has impressive learning capabilities. He could be a high-ranking official in South Korea. They agree to send him as a spy because the older spies were busy surviving. But the only problem was that he was an orphan, so chances of him betraying were higher. But the other officer assures him on that matter, saying he has one family he was loyal to. He was talking about Haejin's sister and shows a picture of her to him. In the present time, Haejin was still fighting the students, and they were no match for him. He was beating them one by one, brutally. The boss, Sung-do, was terrified and couldn't understand what was going on while he was beating the heck out of them. Soon after that, only Haejin was standing there, covered in blood. Sung-do offers him more money, but Haejin mocks him, asking for 100 million per month. Sung-do had lost it now. He grabs a brick near him and attacks Haejin, but he simply kicks him in the face along with the brick. The bully girl was horrified and runs away from there. Haejin asks the bullied girl if she wasn't gonna leave as well. She apologizes to him for bringing him here. He told her that this still would have happened without her, but if she really was sorry, she should give him 50,000 won. She was surprised to hear that. At a restaurant, NIS Team 3 leader of domestic operations, Sun Ju-won, was investigating Haejin. He had already confronted Haejin if he was a spy, and Haejin had confessed without hesitation that he was a spy. Another NIS agent also comes there and sees him reading that guy's file. She says that he was obviously lying about being a spy so that he could get some attention. But the NIS leader told her that he really was a spy. She was shocked and asked him why he hadn't caught him yet. But the team leader had better plans. At some other place, Haejin and the girl were eating somewhere. He told him about her sister who works at a cold noodle restaurant in North Korea. After he was done eating, he leaves saying she still owes him the rest of the 48,000 won. She thinks he couldn't be serious about that. While going to his apartment, he thinks about the past, how they separated him and her sister when they were just children. He was planning to get her out of North Korea. He realizes that the girl resembles her sister very much when he senses something and someone attacks him from behind. He dodges the attack and sees that it was Sung-do, and this time he was with older gang members. Sung-do threatens to go after Sabiek, the bullied girl. Her mom was admitted to hospital, and if something were to happen to her, it would be Haejin's fault. And that's not all. He says after he was done beating him, he would do unimaginable things to his body as well. Haejin was stunned to hear what was on his disgusting mind. He slams one of the gangsters' faces onto the ground in anger and told Sung-do that he touched the wrong person. Before coming after Haejin, Sung-do had told everything to his dad, and he was beating him for not cleaning the mess he had spread. His father was the one running the school and was angry at him, but when his manager told him that the guy was from North Korea, he stops. He didn't want the chairman to know about this, so he told his manager to take care of the kid, silently. The manager put some newbies to this matter, and Sung-do was excited to take his revenge on Haejin. But he doesn't understand why he was the only one standing there. All his men were down, except him. He runs away and gets in his car, and was ordering his driver to get out of there. But before they could drive away, Haejin comes inside, breaking the glass, and kicks him in the face. The driver tries to fight back, but he just silenced him with one punch, and told him to take him to his father. The manager was wondering why didn't they come back. It had been 1 hour since they had gone. He gets a call and was shocked when he hears that Sung-do had been kidnapped. He realizes that the guy was not any ordinary high schooler. He was a professionally trained individual. He calls the boss, Sung-do's father, to brief him on the situation. The boss replies to the manager that he already knows that because Haejin was already there with his son. The boss was with the chairman at that moment. The boss told the chairman to leave first, but Haejin slammed Sung-do's face onto the table and told both of them to stay where they were, as he wanted to talk to both of them. His father tries to be hostile, but Haejin breaks his son's finger and orders him to stay put if he didn't want to see him in more pain. All his father could do was just watch while the chairman kept annoying him, asking him what was going on. He snaps and starts beating the chairman himself. He beat him up until he fainted. After beating him up, he asks Haejin if he was confident in what he was doing. Haejin replies he was, and he also wanted to make a deal with him. He asks for all the Yongjin Group's transaction ledgers so far. He calls him crazy for putting such a ridiculous demand and gets angry at him. Haejin breaks one more finger of his son, and now he couldn't control himself and attacks him, and Haejin says that the negotiation was over now. As the boss comes closer to him, he makes him punch his own son. Haejin was about to strike back and the boss gets his guard up, but instead of punching him, Haejin starts punching his son over and over again. His father was completely dumbfounded seeing his brutality. He completely messed up his son's face and asks him again if he was ready to talk now. Haejin calls him by his secret name, Northern Snake Head Comrade. Hearing this name coming from his mouth completely shook him from the inside. He told him that he knew about his secret because he was a spy, just like him. He further goes on to tell him that North Korea was watching him and would come after him soon. They had ordered Haejin to take over the Yongjin High School, and that's how the boss, who was in control of the high school, became their target. But unlike them, he didn't want to punish him and offered to hand over the Yongjin High to him, and he would bury the rest. The boss says what if he refused. Haejin immediately broke one of his son's arms and threatens him, saying the next thing that breaks was not gonna be an arm. And the boss could see in his eyes that he was not bluffing. At the school, the other delinquents were waiting for Sendo to come, but he wasn't answering his calls. They were planning to get back at Haejin, as it was embarrassing for them to lose to him. As they were about to go look for Haejin, he comes there himself. One of their group leaders tries to raise his voice, but Haejin just kicks him in the face and silences him. He told the other delinquents that Sendo was not gonna come to school that day and orders them to sit down. He told them that starting today, the school was under his authority. At the hospital where Sendo was admitted, the manager was asking the boss what happened there and why he gave the data of the Yongjin High School to him. The boss says to himself that no matter how rusty he was from old age, that guy was someone who was trained professionally, and the way he broke his son's arm like it was nothing shows how cold he was. Haejin was planning to take over the school from the beginning and used his son as bait to catch him. He orders his manager to kill him and everything would get back to the way they were before. But before that, he hears some commotion outside. Some NIS officers come there with an arrest warrant against them for organized crime groups and espionage. And while the boss was resisting, the officer calls him a communist, indicating he already knows that he was from North Korea. The boss tries to convince them that he was a South Korean citizen, but it was too late. One of the NIS members asks the team leader who gave him the information, to which he replies that it was another spy. After that, the team leader goes to meet Haejin. On the day when Haejin surrendered himself to the NIS, he confessed that he was a spy sent by North Korea, and there were many more other than him, and they were of high status in South Korea. He told him that her sister was held hostage in North Korea, so he wanted to negotiate with him. He proposes that he would be a double spy. In the present, Haejin gives him more data on other schools as well, and in return, the team leader shows him a picture of her sister. They were keeping an eye on her for him, and also indicating that they could find her sister if he betrays them. The next day at school, Sabiek was thinking about what Haejin had told him that day when those girls come to bully her again. They were calling her filthy for going on a date with Haejin that day and insulting her in front of the whole class. They further go on to even say that she invited him to her house because her mother was hospitalized and no one was home. She hadn't even completed her sentence yet when Sabiek punches her with all her strength. The bully falls to the ground unconscious. Everyone in the class was shocked and surprised to see her in that form for the first time. Haejin also comes to the class and simply asks her to move out of the way. Sabiek was still in shock after punching her and couldn't believe it was her who did that. She thanks Haejin for it, but he doesn't understand what she was talking about. The next day at school, another student comes to Haejin's class. The real troublemaker of the school, the third son of Jangsan clan, Jen Nim. Last night, Chairman Lee had come to ask for Jen Nim's assistance. He wanted him to take care of Haejin for him. As they were talking, Yongjin Group's third daughter, Ra Hongmi, also comes there. She sees Haejin's picture and asks Jen Nim if his family was going to get involved in this, to which he replies that he was just curious to see him. And now in the present, Jen Nim rudely asks Haejin if he was the new slave. He drops the cigarette that he was smoking, and while Haejin was distracted by that, he attacks him at a high speed. But Haejin dodges the attack and kicks the desk at him, which he easily catches in midair. Jen Nim was impressed by his reflexes and told him that he didn't have any grudge against him, he was just fulfilling someone's request. He attacks Haejin again and they start fighting in the class. Even the teachers were powerless and couldn't stop them. The whole class was in chaos and all the other students were terrified. Jen Nim was pushing him back, while Haejin was just blocking his attack. At another place, the NIS team leader and the girl NIS member were researching. The girl asks him why they need Haejin for their plan, and how he was gonna save his sister through him. He told her that they needed more information on the other school, and for that, he needed to persuade Jen Nim. At the school, their fight was still going on. We come to know that Haejin had already anticipated his encounter with Jen Nim, and says to himself that dealing with him quietly wasn't an option anymore. Outside the class, Hongmi was watching the fight and was pissed at Jen Nim for fighting again. She notices that Haejin was better than she had originally thought. Even if Jen Min looks like a bully, he was raised with specialized education in his family, and as soon as she says that Jen Nim was a monster, Haejin punches him so hard that he gets thrown out through the window, breaking the glass. Hongmi was shocked to see him unconscious. The NIS team leader says that Jen Nim was only the start. It was going to go a lot harder from there. The ones who were looking for an opportunity to aim for Park Cheong-sa's area, there was no way that those gangs would sit still. The Namsan clan that was affiliated with Park Cheong-su, the previous boss, will do the same too. Now that the boss, Cheong-su, was gone, there was going to be a bloodbath in that area, and this all will be centered around this guy. As Haejin was going to sit in the class, Jen Min gets up again, saying he hadn't had this much fun for a long time. As he was about to attack him again, Hongmi stops him from fighting. She apologizes to everyone and drags him out of the class. She was baffled to see Haejin go up against Jen Nim and not get pushed back. And now she was interested in this mess too. After school, Jen Nim kept messaging Haejin over and over again, challenging him to fight him, threatening to kill him, and bad-mouthing him. Haejin was getting annoyed by this. Defectors who have no family in the South either go to alternative schooling or end up in group homes, and Haejin was in a group house. During dinner, Jen Nim kept messaging him, and after many messages, he finally replies to him, giving him a location to come to. Haejin says to himself that now it was time to take over this territory. Jen Nim knows that the last time they fought, he wasn't serious, and now it was about his pride. He arrives at the location and shouts his name, but what he saw shocked him. There were guys from other gangs who were mistaking him for Haejin. Haejin had beaten up this gang's members and given them the location of this place. Jen Nim tries to explain, but they attack him before he could clarify. Meanwhile, Haejin himself was at their main base. It was his plan to split them, and while they are distracted, he would go for the head. But the head anticipated this would happen and had most of his goons stay behind. Haejin didn't expect the plan to go this smoothly either, and like always, if the plan doesn't go as planned, use your fist. He was beating them brutally one by one. The head was wondering what was going on, why all his men were getting beaten up by that guy. While Haejin was distracted fighting other members, the head comes from behind and throws washing powder in his eyes, blocking his eyesight, and attacks him. On the other hand, Jen Nim was fighting the rest of the gang members and he was almost out of breath. He had taken down a few of those goons but was already at his limit. He curses Haejin for using him as a scapegoat, but he was not giving up, so one of the thugs attacks him. Jen Min knew he couldn't dodge that as his legs were shaking when someone throws a bat at the guy. It was Zheng Taiju from the Renegade organization, and with him was his assistant. The thugs asked them who were they and asked Jen Min if they were with him, but he didn't know them either. His assistant told them that he was the real owner of this territory. Now the thugs don't care and attack everyone there. On the other hand, after throwing washing powder in his eye, the head of the gang starts beating him, throwing him out through the window. After that, he starts beating him with chair. He knows if he manages to somehow get up, he would be dead. So he needed to kill Haejin before that. As he was continuously beating him, Haejin grabs the chair. He was pissed now and said to him that he was dead meat now. Onto the batting cage, the guy, Taiju, slams one of the goons straight to the floor, while the other members charge toward him as well. He was fighting using some special techniques. His attacks were polished and accurate, not wild. This indicates that he was professionally trained as well, just like Haejin. Jen Nim was stunned and wondered where all these monsters were coming from. He was leaving the area when Taiju stops him and asks him where the head of the gang was. Jen Nim tries to get out of that situation by denying to know anything when he attacks him, saying he was not messing around. Jen Nim knew he was screwed big time. At the hospital where Byeok's mom was admitted, she sees a man sitting next to her mom. When she asks him who he was, he replies that he was her father. Byeok was stunned and didn't believe him. On the other side, after getting beaten up by Haejin, the head's attitude towards him completely changes. He started calling him Hyungnim and pledges his undying loyalty to him. They were also at the batting cage where the rest of his men were. He was planning to ambush Haejin when he reunite with his remaining members and take his revenge on him. But when he arrives there, his plan is completely shattered, seeing all his men on the ground. Everyone else was laying injured on the ground while Jen Nim was getting beaten up by Taiju. One of the thugs calls the head boss, and now Taiju knew he was the head. Taiju told him to hand over the laundromat to him and attacks him. But Haejin intervenes, saying the laundromat was now his, and attacks him back. But Taiju grabs his hand, shocking Haejin, and tackles him onto the ground. At the hospital, Park Chang-soo was admitted to the hospital because he tried to take his own life to save his son's life from his leader. They had threatened to kill him and his son if he ratted on them. The NIS team leader told him that he would reveal the false news to the media of him betraying his people unless he gives him the information on the Namsan gang. He told the team leader about his successor, Jeng Taiju. On the other side, Taiju slams Haejin to the ground, but he somehow avoids the impact. Taiju was an elite athlete who was the muscle of their gang. He told the team leader that once he took down a rival group all alone. And the crazy part was, everyone who got beaten by him all end up with concussions or broken ribs. To sum it all up, once he catches someone, he's dead meat. Taiju was overpowering him in the fight, and now even Haejin labels him as dangerous. Haejin frees himself from his grab and manages to lock him in a chokehold. Haejin told him to give up, as getting out of that lock was almost impossible. Taiju recognizes his talent, saying he was real fun. He slams his foot onto the ground and lifted his opponent while in a chokehold, and breaks himself free from his hold. Now they were both pumped up for their fight, and as they were about to attack each other when the head shouts that the territory's gang was coming in droves. Not the whole place was filled with local gang members. After Park Chang-soo was arrested, these three gangs joined hands because they didn't want to work under the head anymore. They were also there to take control of the laundromat from the head. They attack the head, but he hides behind Haejin and told them that he was the boss now, but they don't believe him. Haejin saves him and confirms that he was really the owner of the laundromat now. Everyone now makes him the target. Taijuro's assistant tasks him if they should hide and fish them out later, but he wanted to take all of them out because he had to fight them anyway. Due to the situation, Jen Nim also had to get involved in the fight. And now these three were up against the whole three gangs. At the hospital, when the NIS officers were leaving, they see Byeok running away. When he see the man she was running from, he was completely baffled, saying how he was still alive. Onto the battle area, they were still fighting those gangs. Although they were defeating them one by one, their number was just way too much. The head also helps Haejin here and there. Some thugs attack him from behind, but Haejin saves him. Seeing him fight like that, Jen Nim calls him a monster. He was fighting using some special moves as well and was overwhelming them. He brags about his moves to Haejin when he sees Taiju defeating a bunch of them using weird fighting techniques. Jen Nim was now just speechless. The gang leaders didn't understand what was going on either. How could just the three of them overpower three whole gangs? But they had still hoped that they would hit their limit soon, and that's exactly what happened. Against their sheer numbers, they started to get out of breath. Jen Nim blames Haejin for all this, to which he replies that he would gladly take a hit from him after this was done. Jen Nim suggests he forget about their matter and find a measure against this situation. And that's when his measures arrive. The thugs at the back started to scream and get beaten. It was none other than Hongbi, who was there with his bodyguards. One of them tries to get close to her when a bodyguard slams him onto the ground, and before the rest of them could make any move, the other bodyguards start beating them one by one. Their boss didn't know who they were when the other boss told him that she was the third child of the Yongjin group. He was terrified to know who she was and wondered what she was doing there. The captain of those bodyguards orders them to stop. Jen Nim asked her what she was doing there. She slaps and told him that it was Haejin who called her. He knew if something were to happen to him, she would definitely come to rescue him, and that was the reason he baited him into this mess. Although there were some excess variables, all of this was according to Haejin's plan. He wanted the approval to oversee this territory from the real owner of Gusan, And this was the way how Yongjin Group gives the approval to someone strong. This was how Park Chang-soo also got his position, by fighting for it, putting territory on the line through fist fights. That's how they determine the strong. Hongmi was annoyed seeing everyone dancing like a fool on the palm of his hand, except for Taiju. He goes over to her to set things straight about him being the new owner of the territory. But Hongmi doesn't agree to that because he had connections with Park Chang-soo. The other thugs don't agree to that either. Instead, they prefer Haejin as their new boss over Taiju. Haejin had successfully manipulated those guys into making him the new owner of the laundromat. He slams one of the goons to the ground. She realizes he was strong. He was on the same level as Haejin. When she doesn't agree with him, he decided to use force on her. The bodyguards come in the way to protect her, but in an instant, he took down all of them in one strike, except the captain. As he was about to attack the captain, his assistant stops him. Apparently, the headquarters found out that the Yongjin Group was there, and they order them to come back. He starts leaving without a fight when the bodyguards get up and try to stop him. The captain himself beats them, telling them to know some shame. On the other hand, the team leader and the Nis girl were discussing the plan that Haejin had made to take over this territory. The girl says that she was worried about Haejin. There's one person who would do anything in the name of the Yongjin Group. She was talking about the captain. Jen Nim asks Hongmi if it was a bit over the top, getting the captain involved in this. To which she replies that Haejin needs to know that there was bigger fish. Haejin also could see he was monstrously strong, so he makes a plan with the remaining thugs to take him down first. After that, they could split the territory. They all agreed to the plan. Haejin charges in first and attacks him, which he easily avoids. He mocks Haejin's plan to take him down and strikes back, but Haejin manages to block his attack. The captain was impressed by him. Haejin grabs him by shirt and they engage in an intense close combat fight. Haejin reminds him that he was not alone and grabs him so that he couldn't move. The remaining thugs attack him and Haejin lets him go. The captain beats them up, but while he was distracted by them, Haejin comes from behind and locks him into a cloth grab. The captain couldn't break free of that and passed out. They couldn't believe what they were seeing, and with that, there was no more resistance now. After she yielded and agreed to his terms, he concedes his role of overseeing that territory to Sun Jae-tak, the head of the previous gang. They were shocked to hear that. He wasn't aiming to rule over this territory to begin with. He just wanted to use those goons whenever he wanted. And also he asked them to transfer Sun Jae-tak to their school. Surprisingly, they were the same age. He mistakes Byok for his girlfriend. Jen Nim and Hongmi also come there and Jen Nim challenges him to a fight. Hongmi starts beating him. Byok sees that Haejin had new friends now. Hongmi notices her and starts flirting with her, saying she was her type. She was he to call in the favor she did on him last night and asks him to work for her for a day. He denies it, saying he had an appointment with someone important. Later that evening, he meets Ma Yam-tong from the Bukju gang and the boss of the meat distribution department. He was also a spy just like Haejin, but he was no longer working for North. Ma Yam assumes that Haejin wanted to prove his worth to them too, by giving them Gusan and Yongjin Group. Haejin goes along with his assumptions, saying he wanted a good carrier for him and his sister in the North. They joined hands, but Muyum says they needed to be honest to each other and shows him the proof that he had given to the NIS agent. He already knew that Haejin was planning to screw him, but he come here anyway, because he wanted to catch him and offer him to the Bukju gang to solidify his position in it. And he had already prepared for all this. And with that, the fight begins. They were using knives as if they were trying to kill him. But, after just a few moments, he had defeated all three of them. And now it was Ma Yom's turn to fight. At a park, Byok meets her dad. It had been 10 years since he was gone and apologized to her. But she replies that he shouldn't apologize to her as they had no relation anymore. Her dad gives her his number if she ever feels like talking and leaves after that. On the other hand, the fight between Haejin and Miyim was still going on. Although Miyim was better than the others, but he still was no match for Haejin. After he defeated Miyim, he offers him a deal. He would get him a deal with NIS, so he could keep all his money and get witness protection. In exchange, he asks him to assign him as a deputy, so he could take over the business after he was gone. Of course, he wasn't telling him the real truth behind all this, and if he doesn't agree to that, he would kill him right there. He assures him, saying he should keep the evidence and use it against him if he were to betray him. The evidence was fake that he had intentionally sent out. Mayim agrees to the terms and they make the deal, and as his boss, he assigned him to his first mission. He shows him a picture of Byok's father and ordered him to kill him. Mayim told him that the man in the picture was a Formanus agent as well as a former HID. Heijin was shocked to hear that, but he assures him, saying that even South didn't want him. He also told him that his daughter goes to the same school as he does. The next day at school, Heijin was spacing out while staring at Byok. The other students were surprised to see all the elites eating together. Jen Nim asks Heijin why was in a gloomy mood. Heijin doesn't reply to him and takes his food instead, and he starts shouting at him. Meanwhile, Hongmi was busy flirting with Byok. Byok was wondering why she was like that to her. She didn't hate it, but it was embarrassing for her. Heijin decides that no matter who his enemy was, he would eliminate them for sure, even if that guy was Byok's father. The team leader goes to meet the deputy chief and asks him why he didn't tell him about Ju-young's arrival. He was talking about Byok's father. He told him that the North wants to have a summit. Even the government seemed to backing it, and the cost was Ju-young, who just came back to the South. The chief told him not to get too hasty because they were not going to sacrifice someone who offered his life to their country. In the past, the deputy chief was the one who sent him away and declared him dead. And he was the one who was compensating his family all this time. Outside the city area, in the mountains, Ju-young was camping alone, thinking about how foolish he was to imagine being in a normal family environment again. He decides that it might be best for him to disappear again when someone attacks him from behind. He senses him and dodges his attack, and attacks the guy with the firewood, killing him in an instant. Heijin comes there with the new gang he had joined. Ju-young asks him if the North sent him, to which he replies in affirmative and says that he needed to die. Ju-young tries to escape and the gang members follow him. He gets inside his tent, and his tent was full of traps that get rid of many of them. He had the survival instinct of an animal after being in the mountains for too long. He was prepared for any kind of ambush and was pushing them back using his primary weapons. When he was out of arrows, they attack him blindly, but they weren't aware of the other traps that he had laid. And just like that, in less than 5 minutes, he took down each one of them except Heijin. Ju-young takes out his gun and asks Heijin if he was their boss. Heijin compliments him on being prepared for something like that. On the other hand, Byok comes to Jen Nim's house to deliver his food. They were surprised to see each other. Jen Nim doesn't even fully remember his name and offers her a piece of chicken. She says she was fine and leaves after that. Back to the fights, Heijin was trying to dodge his bullets while Ju-young kept shooting at him continuously. When he was reloading his gun, Heijin attacks him with a rod, which he barely dodges. And while he was distracted by the rod, Heijin attacks him and he falls to the ground. But while falling, Ju-young manages to reload his gun and points it at him. But Heijin grabs his gun and kicks him into the other tent. But he gets up almost immediately and attacks Heijin, which he dodges but couldn't dodge his next kick. Heijin tries to shoot him with the gun but he avoids that as well and throws him and along with himself onto a sharp rod wall. Heijin knew he couldn't change his trajectory mid-air, so he shoots the LPG gas tank near it and gets thrown away by the thrust of the blast. And that's how he managed to survive a near-death situation. After all that, Heijin finally manages to put his gun on the back of his head, and now he had nowhere to run. While returning to her apartment, Byok was thinking how rich Jen Nim was and wondered if her dad was with her. Would her life have been different? She was thinking all of this when a car crashes into her. While Ju-young was being held at gunpoint, his daughter was being kidnapped by the same gang members. She asks for her dad's help, but little did she know that Heijin had already killed her father. While they were loading her into the car, Jen Nim comes there because she had mismatched his order. When he sees them kidnapping her, he gets furious and throws his scooter at them and starts beating them brutally. After beating them up for a few moments, he tries to wake her up and asks her who were these people, but she was out cold. Suddenly another car comes there that drives over Jen Nim as well. Now they load both of them into the car. On the other side, they burn the tents after killing him to erase any evidence. Although he feels bad for Byok, but he says to himself that there was no other way. One of his gang members gets a call from the No-2 of their gang, who told him that his daughter was also captured. Hearing this, Heijin was stunned. They decide to send her off too. He confirms the news of her kidnapping with the gang member and was in disbelief. He was terrified for Byeok and couldn't believe that she got kidnapped. Byeok wakes up in shock and sees Jen Nim in front of her, who asks her to calm down. He told him everything that had happened because she was out all along. He tries to free their hands first and uses the sharp metal to free his hand, while Byeok easily frees herself without much effort, as she had learned how to free herself in those kinds of situations when she was young. Now the only problem was the door. She notices something and Jen Nim says that they still had a chance to get out of there. At another place, while Hongmi was taking a bath, she gets the message about Jen Nim getting abducted. She calls the captain and orders him to summon everyone. After finishing his first mission, Haejin gets back to the main base. Even though he had killed her father, he was not gonna let anything happen to Byeok. He meets the No2 of the Mayum gang, Kim Hyung Tai. Haejin asks him where the boss was, to which he replies that their boss was the most greediest and hypocritical person ever. The other gang members start surrounding him, and he asks if it was a betrayal, to which he replies that it was the plan from the start. Haejin punches him with all his strength, and the No2 falls to the ground in just one strike. The other gang members were shocked to see that. Haejin told them that if they plan on betraying him, he would do the same to them as well. We see that the Goose and gang's head also comes there with all his men, and the all-out battle between the two elite gangs begins. Sabiek and Jen Nim were still trapped inside the freezer, but Jen Nim had a way to get out of there. There is a manual device that is set to be open from the inside, in case someone gets trapped in the freezer. It seems like the gangsters didn't know about it. They managed to open the door, but when outside the freezer, there were a bunch of gang members lurking around the door. On the other hand, Jadak and his gang member assure Haejin that they would take care of the gang, while he should go save Seabig. On the way to saving her, he finds two more members on the guard. He had planned on quickly taking care of both of them in one strike without wasting any time on them. Haejin attacks them out of nowhere, but the guy blocks Haejin's attack without much effort. Haejin was shocked to see him blocking his attack so effortlessly. Haejin throws some fast jabs, but none of them were landing on him. He was dodging all his attacks. Haejin was wondering what was going on and who were those guys. This time, the guy was the one who attacks him, and Haejin couldn't dodge that. In just one attack, the guy makes Haejin fall back. He was impressed by Haejin as he managed to avoid any critical damage in such a short gap. He introduces himself as Yo Taekyung, and the one with him was Choi Bim. Haejin was just wondering who were those guys when he reveals that they were on a special mission from the North organization. Haejin was terrified to hear him say that. On the other hand, Jen Nim had managed to defeat all of the thugs outside the freezer. Sabiek was shocked and couldn't believe that he beat them all by himself. They make a run for it when someone throws a knife at him which was aimed at Sabiek. Jen Nim comes in the way to save her and gets stabbed himself. The one who threw the knife was Yumtong. While Jen Nim was distracted by him, one of his men manages to get hold of Sabiek. Jen Nim tries to save her, but the other gang member attacks him at the same spot where he was stabbed before. On the other hand, Jadak was losing the battle as they just keep coming in a bunch. There were only a few of them left, and the gangsters' numbers just kept getting larger in time. The gangsters told them to kneel if they didn't want to die, and when Jadak didn't kneel, they attack him again. But before they could attack them, a car comes in the way, and in that car was Hongmi with her bodyguards. She asks them where Sabiek was. She was pissed. Jen Nim was unconscious because of the hit earlier, and now there was no one to save her. She asks them why they were doing that to her, as she still didn't know about his dad's true identity. Tong told her that her father was a northern spy, and many wanted to kill him. That's why they brought her here as a hostage. But he didn't need her anymore, because her father was already dead. She was in extreme shock after hearing that. The moments with her father start to flood his mind. She didn't believe him. Yumtong orders his men to get rid of her. They were about to inject her with something poisonous when the ceiling above them broke and someone comes down through the ceiling. When Sabiek sees who he was, she couldn't believe it. It was none other than his father, and he was furious at them for making his daughter cry. Before going after Sabiek's father to kill him, Haejin had a meeting with the team leader. The team leader suggests Haejin to save him, as lots of agents owe him, which would help him in the long term. Haejin agrees to save him, but he has one condition. In the present, Sabiek couldn't stop crying seeing her father alive. While they were distracted, Tong attacks Herdad with a knife which he receives directly. On the other hand, Hongmi's bodyguards had taken down all the gang members. Jadak asks her if she had seen Haejin. She warns all of his men to be on guard as if was not over just yet. Just then, they notice on the rooftop. On the other side, Sabiek's father was heavily injured and was bleeding all over. He had pointed his gun at them and told them that he would stay back, so let her daughter go. But Sabiek doesn't agree with that. Yumtong calls him pathetic, saying he already knows that the gun was empty. He throws the gun at him and they make a run for it. He didn't have any weapons on him. That's why they had to run. He throws her outside, saying the next time they meet they would definitely go to the amusement park, and shuts the door from the inside. He had lost too much blood, and they both couldn't escape that way. She kept slamming on the door to no avail. She remembers what Haejin had told her, to fight back. She starts slamming the door with an iron pipe, hoping it to open somehow. She begs someone to help her. Just then, a mini truck breaks the door. It was Haejin on the truck. He gets off the truck and reminds Sabiek's father that he was supposed to pretend to be dead. On the other side, the ones on the rooftop were those guys who were from the special task force. They suspect that Haejin was cooking something behind the scene. They even suspect that the documents he sent to North were false. But they were curious to see what he does and decide to leave him alone. Hongmi recognizes them back when they were working with his brother and wonders why they were he. Yumtong was angry at Haejin for betraying him and orders his men to attack him. Those men were from the special unit and they were definitely stronger than the other goons, but they were still no match for Haejin. Yumtong tries to run away, but Sabiek's father comes in the way and knocks him out with just one punch. Haejin compliments him and he was pissed at him because Haejin was the reason he was so weak. Sabiek hugs her father, and Hongmi also comes there, but everything was already over. She demands an explanation from Haejin. Haejin agrees to tell her everything. In the north, the high-rank officer also had suspicions about Haejin's loyalty. They were at the same restaurant where Haejin's sister works. Seeing her, they decide to make him realize why he should be loyal to the north. In the south, Haejin meets Jen Nim's dad, a street night group of the Joseon dynasty, the 36th promoter, Kang Hyun-ho, at a PC cafe. While Jen Nim was playing a game, he gets a message that Sabiek was almost there. The whole group was supposed to meet there, but for some reason Hongmi and Haejin were late. Jen Nim was a little nervous facing Sabiek after that incident. He starts to fight his teammates at the game because they suck at the game. Also, when they told him to look at 3 o'clock, he looks at his phone and was confused as it was 2 o'clock at the time. While he was cursing them, someone hits him from behind. It turns out they were in the same gaming room as he was. When Haejin was going to meet them, the girl who was sharing the house with them scolded him for going out like that. While she was selecting something for him to wear, he asks her if her grandmother was still in the north. She told him that she was saving as much as possible to bring her to the south. After dressing him up, she goes to her part-time job. After that incident, when Hongmi asks Sabiek's father about the situation, he just told him that he met Haejin by chance and came to know that he was Sabiek's friend, so he asked him for help. Hongmi doesn't buy that story. All she could find out about Haejin was that he was a Korean defector. We see that she gave Sabiek's father a new job as her driver. She also erased his past identity and changed his name to Liam. On their way, a guy was driving like crazy and was bothering the others. They block the road and get out of their car and start yelling at someone, blaming him for a car scratch on their new car. The man inside the car was with his child, who was scared. Hongmi gets annoyed and orders Liam to hit their car. In the gaming room, they were trying to pick a fight with Jen Nim when Sabiek arrives at the same cafe. Jen Nim apologizes to them, but they were not having it and grab him by the shirt. Jen Nim grabs his hand and says he would pay for their gaming room. Just by the strength of his grip, the delinquent realizes that he was strong and lets him go. Outside the cafe, Jen Nim meets Sabiek and was surprised to see her new look. The news of the road incident was reported on the news as well. After completely messing up their car, when they try to get to her, Liam smashes their faces. She called her lawyer and the goons were charged with a criminal offense for endangering a child. Due to all this, Hongmi was late. Jen Nim was nervous talking to Sabiek as he had started to like her. He told her a useless gaming fact that 3 o'clock means east. The atmosphere there was so awkward that he couldn't handle it and made an excuse to go to the washroom. After he was gone, the girls from her class who used to bully her also come there. On the other hand, Haejin was late because he was stopped by the Black Bean Group's executive director, who gives him his 500 million won check that was given to him by Jangmin's father. His father knew about Haejin's identity as a North Korean spy and made a deal with him. For some reason, Jangmin's father wanted to go to North Korea, even though he considers them his enemy. And now all the condition for him to take his sister out of the North was complete. There was two ways he could get her out of there. The first was with the help of those who control the city, NIS, the Yongjin Group, and the Black Bean Association. And the second way involved him getting to the North himself. The executive director wanted to confirm he was eligible to do their job. He confirms it by fighting him. At the cafe, the girls were making fun of her for doing her hair and calling her a pervert because of her short skirt. But this time Sabiek wasn't afraid of them and reminds them of what happened last time. The bully couldn't stand her attitude and was going to spill the drink on her. But before she could do that, Jangmin grabs her hand, saying it was her drink. The bully couldn't understand why a loser girl like her was hanging out with someone like Jangmin. They were afraid of Jangmin because he was the only one in the school who could go up against Haejin. As they were leaving, their boyfriends also come there after hearing the commotion. They were the same guys who were trying to mess with Jangmin in the gaming room. They were annoyed seeing him again and started bad-mouthing him. He tries to ignore them because he didn't want to involve Sabiek in all this. The bully girl thought that he might be a coward in real life and was faking all this time. She was planning on getting her revenge on Sabiek this time. When Jangmin decides to leave with Sabiek, the girl grabs her and told her to apologize to her first for hitting her. But instead of apologizing, she throws the drink at her face and then apologizes to her, saying her hand slipped. The guy was pissed and was about to hit her. Just then, Jangmin kicks him in the face and he falls to the ground in one kick. The others attack him as well and he told them to guess his next kick. He somehow manages to change his movement the midway. After beating them all up, he apologizes to everyone at the cafe for any inconvenience by buying them dessert. He makes the bullies apologize to them as well. He asks Sabiek if that was enough, and she nods while smiling. Jangmin was completely blown away by her smile. Somewhere in a poor area, a guy calls an elderly woman and told her that there was some problem with her bank account and that she couldn't use her account for about a year. She begs him to do something about this. He told her that he would help him, but she was to not tell anyone about that. He suggests she cash out all of the money in her account and put the money in some kind of jar outside her house in case of any inspection. And that's exactly what she does. After she was gone, someone comes to her house and takes out the money that was in the jar. We see that the person was none other than Haejin's flatmate, whom he considers his sister. She wanted to take her grandma out of the North, and to do that, it required 100 million won and some extra charges as well. She was planning on getting her out through a woman called Dant, North Korean refugee. Now obviously she didn't have that much money, so Aunt introduces her to somewhere she could make money in a short amount of time. And that's how she got into this job. All she needed to do was to deliver the bags at the given locations. She would get paid 150,000 won just by doing that. The one behind this voice phishing was the president of the Central Boards of Directors, Joe Malduk. One of his delivery tried to run away with the money, so they were educating him about that. When his right-hand man told him that the loss was around 100 million won, he starts beating him. Malduk beat him to the brink of death and ordered his man to sell his organs in the black market to compensate for that. It was Gina's 10th delivery. All she needed to was to put the bag inside the old clothes bin, but the bin was too small for the bag to fit. Suddenly, she sees a rat and was startled by it and falls to the ground. The bag opens and all the money comes out raining. She was shocked to see all that money. On the other hand, Malduk ordered his men to kill anyone who touches his money. Gina was terrified to find herself in that situation. She realizes that it was a voice phishing scam. She tries to report the cops about this when she gets a call from Aunt. She told her that because of the money and the letter she had sent to her grandmother, they were caught. And now if she wanted to take her grandma out of there, she had to get the money now. She told her that she had money. She was determined to save her grandmother no matter what. The guys who were on her watch were eating noodles when they see her running away with the money. They chased her for some time, but they lost sight of her after some time. Malduk was beating them brutally for slacking on the job while making them eat noodles off the ground. His right-hand man reports to him that it wasn't reported to the police, and he also disposed of all the devices used in that scam. Molduke orders him to search for the money or he would cut him to pieces. On the other hand, Gina was wondering why those guys hadn't contacted her yet. She hopes that she might get away with this. Just then, we see a thug standing behind her, who attacks her with a hammer. At another place, we see Haejin and Yumtong talking. Haejin was still using Yongtong after that incident. Yumtong asks him why he was doing all this, and he already knows that he was not doing all this to be successful. Haejin doesn't tell him the whole story. He only says that he wanted freedom. On the other side, Jean dodges the attack and pushes him downstairs. But that guy was not alone. Another guy was with him. She tries to shut the door, but he catches her before that and throws her onto the floor. They had already searched the whole apartment, and the money was not there. The man orders the other guy to hit her again, and as he was going to do that, some bangs on the door. It was Haejin. After opening the door, he sees inside and his eyes were a hell of suspicious. Those guys were hiding near the door, waiting for him to come inside. Haejin starts saying some random science stuff like which part of the body hurts the most after getting hit there. The pain from that could also give someone a heart attack. He told them he was gonna hit the guy at the right first in the next 5 seconds. The guy on the right was pissed at his corky attitude and attacked him. He dodges the attack and took care of him first. Before entering the room, he had already seen them on the TV screen. On the other hand, Taiju and his assistant had come to meet Aunt, but she was already gone because her location got leaked. His assistant was planning on bringing his grandmother to the south from the north, but now it was not possible anymore. Oven also arrives there and some men come out of that and they ask them to scram. Haejin goes to Jadok and asks him to put some guys on guard for Gina. Now they interrogate the men who had attacked her. He was furious and asks them to tell him about the sender. On the other hand, Taiju beat all of them up and they realized they were on the same side. Those men were Aunt's men and they thought these two were private loan sharks. The guy told them if they wanted to meet Aunt, they could find her on Mr. Jang's boat in Chundok. It's a private gambling house run by donations, and we see that Haejin was already at the dock. Earlier, Haejin manages to get information out of those guys who told him about the boat. This ship in reality is a big casino. Chinese people also come to gamble here. The guy told him that to get in touch with them, put 140,000 won in a white envelope and write Black Family in Chinese characters. Haejin exactly does what they had told him and he manages to get inside the ship. At the laundromat, the guy asks the other guy why he lied to him. Black Family and 140,000 won in a white envelope was a secret code to kill him. And that's exactly what was happening right now. Haejin realizes that he had been fooled. Molduke asks his man if he had found the girl yet. His manager told him that there was a group in Guzan. She might be a member of that gang and was aiming for that money from the beginning. Otherwise, his men would have found her by now. At the ship, Ant was gambling as well. She lost all her money to a Chinese man and accuses him of cheating. While she was making such a commotion, someone hit her from behind with a rod. It was gambling house ship manager Gonji. He told her if she couldn't pay the money, she have to give her body as collateral. She tries to run away but his men chase her. Outside the ship, when those men were looking for Ant, someone attacks one of them from behind. On the other hand, Haejin was fighting those goons who wanted to kill him because of the code. The code is used when someone who works on Mr. Jang's ship fails at their job. While they were fighting, one of the thugs traps Haejin inside a net. While he was trying to get himself out, they attack him all at once. As they were about to attack him, someone grabs one of the goons from behind and slams him onto the ground. It was none other than Taiju. They recognize each other and were wondering what the other person was doing there. Jadok goes to bring Gina from her friend's house. Another girl opens the door who knew Jadok as he had saved her from a dog that morning. Gina also comes there, told him that Haejin had told him that he would come there himself to take her, and asks him how she could believe him. Jadok told him that he was Haejin's classmate. They were speechless to know he was in high school. Just then he gets a call from his gang, who told him that those men had escaped from there. They reported the incident to Molduke. They told him about their location and also that they were a gang of a bunch of high school students. Molduke orders his manager to gather all the men. After helping Haejin in taking care of those goons, Taiju was leaving. Haejin stops him and asks him if he was also looking for Ant and he proposes an offer. The ship manager was torturing Ant for running away, as they couldn't sell her body because she was old. They wanted to sell her eyes. They decided to take her eyes out once the typhoon stopped. Just then, one of his guys come there running and told him that someone was causing a commotion at the ship and was beating all the goons. He told him about the white ladder. The ship manager asks him how many guys were there, to which he replies only one. Earlier Heijin had made a deal with Taiju. He proposes that he was gonna cause commotion, and in the meantime, Taiju was to search for Ant. That was the fastest way to find her. While Heijin was fighting, Taiju manages to locate Ant, who was being tortured. They misunderstood him with Heijin and start yelling at him. In an instant, Taiju took care of both of them. The ship manager couldn't even keep up with his speed. As he was about to curse him, Taiju slams him onto the floor before he could finish his sentence. The other guy just stood there trembling, not being able to even move. Ant was relieved to see someone saving her, but Taiju punches her as well. He starts beating her brutally, asking her about his assistant's mother. His assistant stops him and they take her with them. In the hallway, the whole hallway was filled with bodies, and the one behind all this was Heijin. They threatened to kill him and told him to surrender. He gets a call from Taiju, who told him that they had secured Ant. One of the thugs gets pissed at him for ignoring them midway. Heijin takes his down and suggests the rest of the guys surrender if they wanted to live. They drop their weapon and make a way for him to pass. They took Ant to Yumtong's factory for interrogation. Yumtong doesn't know what was going on and suggested if they were going to kill her, he could mince the meat at that factory. Taiju asks Heijin why he was wasting his time like that. They both were looking for money and Heijin assures him they would get their money. But before that, he asks her the whereabouts of those voice phishing groups and was furious at them for messing with Gina. On the other hand, Duke had gathered all his men and was going to the laundromat himself. Ant told him that his nickname was Joe Steak. He looks like a healthy businessman on the outside, a guy who runs a moving center. Using personal information that he collects through the moving center, he does voice phishing. With the money he earns, he leads his own organization. Jadok was angry at his members for letting those goons escape. The other members ask him why they had to get involved in such a dangerous situation for Heijin. Jadok scolds them and they say that they would follow him anywhere. Just then, a car comes crashing into the laundromat, breaking everything. The meat factory. Yumtong remembers something after hearing the name Just Steak. He told Heijin that he was a member of the North organization. He was 100% sure that he was from the North. Taiju says he doesn't care who he was and asked him to hand over Ant to him. They wanted to take someone out of the North themselves, so Heijin makes a deal with him to get both of them what they wanted. He proposes a plan to use Ant to get them out of North. He asks her if she still had contacts in Korea, even though she was broke now. She replies in the affirmative but asks them for money to do that. Taiju gets angry at her but Heijin stops him, asking him to let him handle this and he would take that person out that they wanted. He gets a call from one of the leaders of the Gyuzin gang, who told him that the laundromat was messed up. When Heijin arrives there, he sees that the laundromat was completely destroyed, and they also took Jadok with them as a hostage. They demand 100 million won to save him and 100 million settlement money. They gave them the location the deal was supposed to happen in the next 3 days. After 3 days, they arrived at the given address. The manager was surprised at how a bunch of high schoolers managed to collect 200 million won. Jadok says he was sure that Heijin would come to save him, but what he saw surprised them. Heijin was not there. Instead, he came to meet the boss directly. He thinks that he is a delivery boy, but when he says that he came here to pay his debt, Joe Steak was surprised. He acknowledges Heijin's talent, how he left his friend behind to use him as a pawn to get to him, to which Heijin replies that he didn't leave him behind, he just sent someone else to retrieve him, and that someone else was known other than Taiju. The manager thinks that he was Heijin and asks him for the money, but he sees that he doesn't have anything on him. He gets pissed and orders his man to attack him. Taiju slams his face to the ground before he could even get off the van. And now the manager orders all his men to come out, and we see that they were hiding in the cars all this time. But Heijin had already anticipated that it would be a tough fight and had made a plan accordingly. The manager of the ship was still searching for Heijin and Taiju, and while he was scolding his men, Taiju and his assistant come there on a bike and gaslight them into following him. And now both gangs were in the same area. The manager recognizes the group and thought that they were Taijuro's backup. The other gang also thought they had been owed and Joe Steak was behind him. The manager of the ship asks Joe Stake's group if they were declaring war against their group. The manager blames them for it and he gets angry. The ship manager orders his men to attack them, and Joe Stake's gang attacks as well. And that's how the battle begins. At Joe Stake's office, Joe was trying to call his men but they weren't answering the call. Just then, comes flying into his office through the door, breaking it. It was Yumtong and his men, who had already taken care of all his goons outside. Now it was only him remaining. On the other hand, the battle between the gangs got really intense. The manager was wondering how did it come to this. His only goal was to beat up some high school kids. So how it ended up in an all-out battle instead. While all of this was happening, Taiju and his assistant were watching all this from a safe distance. They had also reported the incident to the police, and they were here as well. Now their job to lure them was done. Haejin didn't say anything about saving Jadak, so they leave him there. On the other hand, Yome's members attack Joe Stake, but he was beating them brutally. He was a menace. He defeated Yumtong in just one hit as well. Haejin kicks him, but he doesn't even flinch and grabs his leg and slams him onto the floor. Haejin somehow manages to escape from his grab and attacks his hand, but Joe Stake manages to free himself from that also. Haejin says that he was strong, as expected from someone from the special unit. Joe Stake was shocked to hear that. Haejin told him that he was from the north as well, but he doesn't believe him. Joe asks him why he was after him when they were on the same side. Earlier when Haejin met the team leader and made a plan to make the north throw him away. And to do that he was using Aunt to get his family to defect out of the north, making it look like he was planning on betraying the north. The other two guys received the message that No 47 Joe Stake was trying to betray them, and they were to get rid of him. They had another order as well, so they sent Haejin to take care of him. After getting beaten up by him the first time, now Haejin was overpowering him, but he was from the Special Task Force, and wasn't an easy target. He frees himself from Haejin's grab and uses a sharp wood to stab Yumtong and runs away. He was thinking that it would buy him some time to escape while he takes go of his friend. He also had some money with him, but Haejin follows him anyway. Joe steals someone's scooter and runs on it, but Haejin still didn't stop to pursue him. Haejin lured him into a corner. He tries to stop and falls to the ground. Haejin pushes him down the stairs, and now he couldn't even stand. Haejin takes the bag and sees it was full of money. Just then, the Special Tasks officers also come there. They take the bag and compliment him on capturing him, even though there was such a huge weight gap. He was impressed by Haejin's work and asked him to join the Special Forces. That's exactly what Haejin was planning from the start.
Chapter 31. As Haejin agrees, the North organization wonders if it is fair to let Haejin be in a special task force. As the organization senses suspicious activities in Haejin's hometown, they wonder if Haejin is trying to defect. However, the officer denies it, saying that Haejin only wants to protect his sister. He adds that Haejin has been different from others since the start. Chapter 32. Shortly after, the officer from the North captures Joe Stake's parents, who plead to be freed, claiming that their son is a Republican. As Joe Stake's mother insists there has been a misunderstanding, the officer calmly informs them of the serious crimes they have committed. As he continues listing their offenses, Joe Stake's parents grow angry. The officer then reports that an accident occurred while Joe Stake was leaving North Korea. While traveling in a car, he attempted to escape and run away. However, he was hit by a truck and fell into the water, leading the North organization to assume he lost his life. As the officer commands his subordinates to take Joe Stake's parents away, they start crying and begging to be freed. On the other hand, Haejin meets with the team leader and informs him that he is in the Special Task Force. The team leader, confused by the location, asks why he was brought to such a childish place. However, Haejin remarks that the place is actually quite popular among kids, adding that he is just a high school student as well. Momentarily confused, the team leader drops the topic and congratulates Haejin on joining the Special Task Force. As he mentions that Joe Stake's business was also involved in voice phishing and has been taken down, he prepares to leave. Pulling the curtains aside, he notes that now that Haejin is in the Special Task Force, he finally has the chance to rise to higher positions. However, before the team leader leaves, Haejin reminds him about the picture of his sister that he was promised in exchange for his help. Instead of agreeing to provide it, the team leader informs him about an upcoming Inter-Korean summit. He adds that before the event, A peace gathering will be held in North Korea. Expecting Hajin to supply all useful information, he assures him that he will receive the picture once he fulfills his role. Just as the team leader is about to leave, Hajin states that he will return all the money. Shocked, the team leader reveals that Do-young's life is worth 300 million won. However, Hajin smiles and remains calm, claiming that he actually has plenty of money. He then reveals that he possesses 3 billion won. Meanwhile, the special task force investigates Jo Stake's bank account and is shocked to find it completely empty. As they speculate whether he withdrew everything beforehand, they soon realize he was too preoccupied with escaping. One of the officers reports that the police had raided his office a day earlier and found nothing, suggesting that his account had already been emptied. Back with Hajin, the team leader is stunned by the mention of 3 billion won and immediately questions the source of such a large sum. With a slight smile, Hajin simply states that Jo Stake had a good sense for investment. Hajin reveals that Jo Stake withdrew all the money from his bank account about a month ago. He had invested the entire sum in stock shorting, and the proceeds had grown to nearly 10 times the initial amount. As Hajin takes out a pen drive from his pocket, he explains that he was fortunate to retrieve the coin in account, even though he failed to obtain all the necessary documents. The team leader, shocked, jokingly asks if he can take a picture with Hajin, calling him a billionaire. However, Hajin ignores the remark and hands him the pen drive, requesting a favor. The next day at school, Yeomtong angrily yells at Hajin for not helping him escape, accusing him of focusing solely on capturing and defeating Jo Stake. However, Yeomtong is left speechless when Hajin casually reveals that he simply forgot about him. Calling it an excuse, Yeomtong brings up Sae Bayok, asking if Hajin's lie is obvious. Uncertain about the situation, Sae Bayok takes Hajin's side, reasoning that there must have been a specific reason for him to forget. Noticing her unusual behavior, Jong-min asks if she is feeling unwell. Sae Bayok reassures him that she is fine but admits that her stomach hurts a little. Sensing that she might be on her menstrual cycle, Jong-min quickly leaves the classroom. He returns moments later with a hot water pack and chocolate milk, handing them to her. Sae Bayok casually thanks him, but Yeomtong, annoyed, demands the chocolate milk for himself. Smirking, Jong-min refuses, leaving Yeomtong sulking. Just then, Yeomtong brings up Tae-ju, wondering why he came to rescue him from Jo Stake. Meanwhile, Tae-ju's assistant bursts into tears, thanking him while informing him that his mother has safely escaped from North Korea and successfully arrived in the South. As his assistant expresses gratitude, Tae-ju promptly asks for the money he was promised upon his mother's arrival. Smiling, he is pleased when his assistant agrees to hand it over. Elsewhere, Youngji visits the elderly woman whose money she had unknowingly given to Jo Stake at the beginning. Serving her a homemade meal, Youngji proudly announces that she prepared it herself. Touched, the grandmother expresses her wish to have a granddaughter like Youngji. In response, Youngji shares that her own grandmother will soon be coming to South Korea. Just then, the grandmother's gaze shifts to a bag on the floor. Approaching it, she recognizes the very same envelope in which she had originally placed her money for Jo Stake. Overjoyed, she announces that her money has been returned. Seeing this, Youngji, overwhelmed with emotion, begins to cry, realizing that the money the grandmother lost because of her has finally found its way back. Noticing from a distance, the team leader and her assistant feel relieved. As the assistant asks if all the money has been delivered to the rightful owners, the assistant hesitates, uncertain about its exact source, wondering if it came from special activity funds. However, the team leader quickly dismisses the idea, revealing that Hajin was the one who provided the money. Still puzzled, the assistant questions where Hajin could have acquired such a large sum. The team leader remains silent, recalling the request Hajin had made when handing over the pen drive. Hajin had asked the team leader to return the money to those it rightfully belonged to, admitting that it was too much for him to spend alone. As they continue walking, the team leader finally reveals that Hajin did it all for Youngji. Meanwhile, Hajin sits quietly in his room, staring at a photo of his sister while recalling a distant memory from when he was just 18 days old. Chapter 33. One day, a group of North Korean soldiers discovers a hidden place filled with dead bodies. Horrified by the gruesome scene, they realize the restaurant has been serving human meat. As they recoil in disgust, their eyes fall on a young boy. Calling the man who attempted to eat a baby a monster, one of the soldiers checks the water in which the boy was dipped and notes that it contains soap, commenting that it was warm. The officer in charge looks down at the infant, who was an 18-days-old boy, unsure of what to do. Another soldier observes that the killer had added medicinal herbs to the water, possibly due to the spots on the baby's body. After a moment of hesitation, they decide to leave the child in a village. Years later, the boy, now 5 years old, stands in line for food at the orphanage where he has been taken in. When the owner hands him a portion, the boy remains standing. The owner, referring to him as number 23, questions why he hasn't moved. Number 23 bluntly states that the portion was too small and asks for more. Smiling coldly, the owner strikes him with a shovel, mocking his hunger. As the food spills onto the floor, the other children immediately scramble to pick up the scraps and eat them. The owner watches silently as they devour the fallen food, their desperation evident. A few days later, a young girl arrives at the orphanage. When the owner attempts to push her inside, she resists, pleading for him to stay away. Unfazed, he orders her inside. However, number 23, witnessing the situation, grabs a shovel from the ground. Without hesitation, he charges at the owner, who panics and tries to dodge. But he is too slow as number 23 swings the shovel with full force, striking him in the stomach. The owner collapses and soon after, his life ends. Overcome with fear, number 23 makes the decision to flee. As he wanders into North Hamgyong province, in the Sunam-Jangmadang area of Chongjin, a special division chief officer, Im Yang-soo, is on patrol. Noticing a gathered crowd, the officer grows curious and approaches to investigate. As people clear a path for him, his gaze falls on a frail boy, his pants tattered, his upper body bare. Without warning, the boy, number 23, rushes toward the officer and hugs him, begging to be killed. His voice shakes as he claims he can no longer endure living. Shocked, the chief watches as the boy suddenly loses consciousness and collapses onto the ground. Hours later, number 23 wakes up to find himself wrapped in a blanket, his body covered in bandages. As he sits up, a jolt of shock runs through him. His gaze shifts toward the door just as a man enters, carrying a bowl of soup. Fear grips him as the man approaches, and he instinctively pleads for him to stay away. However, the man calmly sits beside him, assuring him there is no need to be afraid. He gently sets down the bowl and mentions that he brought sesame noodle soup, knowing the child must be hungry. At the sight of the warm, fragrant soup, number 23's mouth starts to water, but he quickly covers his lips, determined not to let hunger make him vulnerable. Just then, a small kid appears from behind the man and clings to him. The kid glances at number 23 and asks about the child's identity. After a brief pause, number 23 introduces himself as number 23. At that moment, the little girl soils himself, prompting his father to pick him up. Before leaving, the man tells number 23 to eat properly, reassuring him that there is plenty more food available. Addressing him directly, the man declares that his new name will be Lim Hajin from now on. The little girl, Haeyoung, urges his father to hurry and they leave, closing the door behind them and leaving Hajin alone. Left alone, Hajin stares at the soup, uncertain. Realizing he might starve if he refuses to eat, he finally drinks it. A few days later, Hajin fights a boy named Youngchul, who is 5 years older, after Youngchul insults Haeyoung. Despite the age difference, Hajin wins. Haeyoung's father steps in and tries to calm them down, stating that children often fight. Youngchul's father insists that his son apologize first for insulting Haeyoung, but Youngchul Youngchul's father insists that his son apologize first for insulting Haeyoung, but Youngchul refuses and storms out of the room. Turning to Hajin, Youngchul's father pats his head and remarks that he will grow into a great soldier who will serve leader Kim. He hands Hajin some money and encourages him to take his sister to Jangmadang to enjoy a good meal. Hajin silently accepts the money and leaves with Haeyoung. As soon as they close the door, Youngchul's father and Haeyoung's father discuss their secret mission to assassinate leader Kim. Aware of the mission scale, they decide to seek help from South Korea, planning to bring in Song Do-young and Sung Ji-won. NIS Task Force Team Leader, Song Do-young and NIS Task Force Team 7th Degree Agent, Sung Ji-won, enter the room, prepared to help them. Chapter 34, Youngchul's father continues his conversation with the NIS Task Force members, emphasizing how the country has remained unchanged since the March of Hardship. He points out that while those in power continue gaining weight, ordinary citizens only grow thinner. Holding up a photograph of leader Kim, he asserts that removing him is the key to solving these issues. Naming the Operation Dawn, he watches as both NIS agents react with visible shock. At Jangmadang, Hajin casually remarks that their pocket money has now doubled thanks to the lieutenant general's generosity. As he speaks, his attention shifts to a boy wearing a red scarf, momentarily distracting him. Taking advantage of this, Haeyoung slips from his grip and dashes toward her favorite restaurant. Before Hajin can chase after her, Youngchul appears and calls out his name. Turning around, Hajin immediately taunts him, asking if he has returned for another beating. This angers Youngchul, but before he can react, Haeyoung calls for Hajin, prompting him to ignore Youngchul and prepare to leave. Just then, Youngchul casually reveals that his family is moving to China. Hajin freezes, caught off guard. Seeing his reaction, Youngchul steps closer as Hajin mutters that he had no idea. Amused, Youngchul laughs and remarks that his family is planning to leave him behind. Hearing Youngchul say that he is adopted and not truly part of the family, Hajin processes the revelation in silence. Later that night, he returns home and overhears his parents discussing their plans to leave for China. His father urges his mother to keep the information from both Hajin and Haeyoung, hoping to avoid complications. Hajin, hidden nearby, freezes in shock. His mother further clarifies that only the three of them will be making the journey. Alone in his room, Hajin quietly cries. Meanwhile, the next day, within the North Organization, officials detect unusual activity within the 2nd Division of the Pyongyang Defense Command. The officer points out the presence of spies attempting to smuggle themselves into China and speculates that a coup d'état might be in motion. His colleagues, aware of the general's poor health, appear confused. One officer instructs them to assign men to monitor anyone ranked lieutenant or higher within that unit and determine the reason for their suspicious movements. Elsewhere, Haeyoung senses that Hajin has been acting strangely. She notices that he no longer eats or plays with her, and concern begins to build. While she contemplates his odd behavior, Youngchul's sister approaches and casually asks if Hajin no longer spends time with her. Haeyoung immediately defends her brother, insisting that he is simply busy. However, Youngchul's sister attempts to provoke her by revealing that Hajin is not actually her real brother, emphasizing that Lim Hajin was an orphan. Stunned and angered by the claim, Haeyoung forcefully pushes Youngchul's sister back, warning her not to speak about Hajin in such a manner. At that moment, Hajin arrives and sees Haeyoung in distress. Instead of comforting her, he rushes past her and helps Youngchul's sister to her feet. Haeyoung watches in disbelief. Turning toward her, Hajin furiously scolds her, demanding that she behave properly with others. As Haeyoung struggles to explain herself, Hajin cuts her off and commands her to apologize immediately. However, Haeyoung, overwhelmed with emotion, yells back at him, demanding that he stop giving her orders since he is not her real brother. Hajin stands frozen in shock as Haeyoung bursts into tears and runs away. The North Organization officer watches from a distance, noticing Hajin standing there in shock before quietly walking away. At home, Haeyoung sits nervously beside her mother, feeling guilty for yelling at Hajin. Her mother notices her strange behavior and gently asks if something is wrong. At first, Haeyoung denies it, but when her mother mentions that Hajin is late for dinner, she hesitates. Finally, she confesses that he might be late because of her. Tears fill her eyes as she explains that she got angry and yelled at him for not being her real brother. Her father pats her head, reassuring her that she just needs to apologize when he comes home. Haeyoung nods, wiping her tears. Just then, Hajin enters the house, and everyone turns to look at him. Haeyoung quickly runs to hug him, but he gently wraps a scarf around her neck instead, saying it's a gift. She stares at him, surprised. Hajin then tells her to take care of herself in China. Their parents freeze in shock, realizing he knows about their plan. They ask how he found out, and Hajin calmly says he overheard them talking about it. He also mentions that he knows only 3 of them will be going. Then, his father suddenly laughs and says there was a misunderstanding. He explains that when his mother said 3 of them would leave, she meant Hajin, Haeyoung, and herself. Hajin looks confused, so his father clarifies that he has to stay behind for work in North Korea but promises to join them as soon as possible. As the family embraces near the main gate, a sudden loud crash startles them. The gate breaks apart from the outside and falls to the ground. Before they can react, soldiers storm into the house, their heavy boots echoing through the courtyard. Hajin and Haeyoung freeze in shock, their mother gasping in fear. Hajin's father steps forward, demanding an explanation, but before he can finish his sentence, a soldier steps in and kicks him hard in the stomach. He flies backward, landing painfully on the ground. All of them stares in horror as an officer steps forward, pressing a cold gun barrel against Hajin's father's forehead. The officer declares that he has come to eliminate traitors like him who dare to betray the Republic. Chapter 35. The night before, Youngchul's father had been tracking leader Kim's movements, noting that he was traveling by personal train to Ryangjizeong Station. As an officer cursed their leader, Youngchul's father urged him to stay calm, assuring him that Operation Dawn would begin the next day. Just then, another officer burst into the room, urgently reporting to the lieutenant general that leader Kim had died. Before he could explain how it happened, soldiers stormed in and shot him in the head. Moments later, Pyo Rayong, the lieutenant colonel of the Security Bureau's investigation department, entered with more soldiers, declaring everyone in the room traitors. He ordered his men to execute all the officers except Youngchul's father, whom he wanted captured alive. Gunfire echoed through the room as the officers were eliminated one by one. At night, a soldier watched Lieutenant General Duyan being taken away from a distance, unsure whether he was still alive. Now, in the present, Lim Yongsu and his family face the soldiers invading their home. A lieutenant presses his finger against Yongsu's head, ready to execute him. The family desperately tries to intervene, but the soldiers hold them back. Haeyoung struggles free, biting a soldier's hand. Enraged, the soldier slaps her hard, sending her to the ground. Yongsu defends himself, insisting he is not a traitor, but the colonel is convinced otherwise. He reveals that Hajin had mentioned their plan to move to China, which led them to confirm Yongsu's betrayal. Realizing he has no escape, Yongsu lunges at the colonel, but a soldier swiftly tackles him to the floor. Hajin, realizing his mistake, pleads with the colonel, insisting it was all a misunderstanding. He desperately tries to explain that the plan to move was a lie, but the colonel smirks, patting Hajin's head and remarking that he is already showing the temperament of a traitor at such a young age. Grabbing Hajin's hair, the colonel ignores his screams of pain. Suddenly, a gunshot rings out and Hajin's mother falls, clutching her stomach as blood spreads across her clothes. The colonel chuckles, warning that his sister will be next if he continues lying. Hajin, trembling, finally admits that his father had planned to escape to China. The colonel, pleased, hands him a gun and orders him to prove his loyalty by executing the traitor himself. Shaking, Hajin lifts the gun, pointing it at his father. Yongsu, furious, shouts at Hajin, calling him an orphan and insisting he was never truly part of their family. His father's harsh words cut deep, but Hajin suddenly turns the gun toward the colonel and pulls the trigger, only to realize it is empty. The colonel smirks and slaps Hajin across the face. Holding up the gun, he reveals that he had removed the magazine from the start. Without hesitation, he reloads, giving Yongsu no time to react before firing multiple shots into him. Hajin crawls towards his father while crying, who, with his last breath, names Hajin as the new head of the family. He urges him to protect what remains of their family. But before he can say more, the colonel fires one last shot, ending his life completely. The officer instructs his comrade to hang the bodies outside the station and send the children to Hangyong province. His comrade agrees, and the soldiers take both Haeyong and Hajin away. As Hajin is being taken, he recalls a conversation with his father when he once asked why he had saved him that day. His father explains that people sometimes say the opposite of what they truly mean, suggesting that Hajin was actually seeking help instead of trying to end his life. Remembering his father's harsh words from moments ago, when he had cursed at him for pointing a gun, Hajin begins to understand that his father had been doing the same as he was saying the opposite of what he truly meant. For years later, a boy runs into the street and throws dirty water on a man, provoking him. As the man begins chasing him, the boy takes a sharp turn and stops running. The man turns toward the street and notices a group of kids standing in front of him. Hajin, the leader of the Hangyong province gang of orphans, steps forward and demands the man leave all his money if he wants to go free. Chapter 36. Initially, the man refuses and dismisses Hajin as just a kid. However, the orphan gang starts throwing rocks at him, forcing the man to plead for them to stop. In the end, he reluctantly agrees, promising to leave all his money. However, Hajin throws a rock at the man, claiming that he is too late to agree to their terms. The man yelps in pain and eventually loses consciousness, giving the kids a chance to steal all his money from his purse. As Jang Inyang, the vice leader of the orphan gang, comments that the amount of money is less than expected, Hajin places a hand on his shoulder, assuring him that it's more than enough to feed them until the next day. Meanwhile, a South Korean official watches the news calmly, which forecasts the 4th anniversary of the late leader Kim of North Korea's passing. When one of the officials, Song Jae-won, asks about the whereabouts of Senior Duyong, the other official becomes enraged and demands he refer to him with respect. Song Jae-won, frustrated, responds that respect doesn't matter as he's only asking about Duyong's condition. The other officer insists that Jae-won prepare a nameless star, an honor given for the sacrifice of a black agent from the National Intelligence Service. Standing up, the officer states that Senior Duyong lost his life in action about 4 years ago. Hearing this, Song Jae-won becomes enraged and grabs the officer by the collar, recalling that the official had promised Duyong would be fine and would return. The officer, however, strikes Jae-won with an iron tool, knocking him to the ground. Blood drips from Jae-won's mouth as he lies on the floor, enraged. The official reminds him that Duyong's sacrifice was for the country. Meanwhile, Duyong, who has been captured by the North Korean organization, is subjected to intense interrogation. Despite the pressure, he hasn't spoken a word in the 4 years since his capture, frustrating his captors. They remark that the heroes sent from North Korea usually give up information within a day, unlike the ones sent from North. One of the officers explains to the general that all expeditions to South Korea have failed. The general, frustrated, approaches Duyong for further questioning, realizing that they must prepare the next generation for future missions. He asks if there is a way to create a true hero for the Republic, then shifts his focus to Duyong, calling him a South Korean. In response, Duyong, sensing the general is too close, spits directly at him. The general, frustrated, considers how to make Duyong speak, when a soldier informs him that there is a way to create heroes for the Republic, which catches his attention. Meanwhile, the soldiers reach the area where the orphan gang resides, where Hajin calmly eating with Haeyong and the gang's vice leader, Inyang. Inyang suggests they need more money, and Hajin agrees to find a solution. Suddenly, one of the orphan gang members rushes to Hajin, telling him that the soldiers are taking away some of the gang members. Shocked, Hajin quickly runs to where the soldiers are apprehending the children. He commands the soldiers to stop, and one of the officers notices that Hajin seems capable and strong. As the officer approaches, Hajin ducks and throws dirt into the soldier's eyes, temporarily distracting him. Taking advantage of the moment, Hajin knocks the soldier with a headbutt, causing him to fall. Seeing that there are still 2 soldiers left, Hajin is alarmed when one of the officers starts rounding up the remaining children. As majority of the kids lose their lives, The officer tells Hajin that there are only 3 spots left and gives him a choice to either leave or face the challenge of proving himself. Determined to protect Haeyoung, Hajin decides to take action. He moves towards In-young and punches him in the face. In-young falls back in surprise, and the other gang members are caught off guard. As Hajin kicks In-young in the stomach, he invites the others to fight him as he prepares to face the difficult situation. A few hours later, Hajin finds himself locked in a cell. As he wakes up, he asks the soldier who approaches about Haeyoung's whereabouts. Looking at the other kids locked up in the cell, the soldier coldly explains that the children will be trained to become the new heroes of the Republic. Chapter 37. As Hajin continues asking about Haeyoung's whereabouts, memories of the fight from a few hours ago flood his mind. One soldier, impressed by Hajin's fighting skills and determination to protect his sister, remarks that they don't need a girl. He explains that the girl might be useful in the future and orders the soldiers to take Hajin with them, sending Haeyoung to Pyongyang Section 5. Despite Hajin's desperate pleas to protect her, the soldiers forcefully take Haeyoung away. At present, another soldier approaches Hajin's cell and tells him to be quiet. Hajin suddenly realizes that this soldier was the one who had come to his house, capturing his father. The soldier coldly tells Hajin that if he wants to protect his sister, he will have to endure harsh training, survive, and serve the Republic. Grabbing Hajin by his hair, the soldier smirks, commanding him to survive and become a revolutionary warrior for the nation. Meanwhile, the orphan kids continue to suffer, while the news reports that General Kim Jong-un has made a generous decision to help homeless orphans in Joseon, providing them with shelter, food, and education. However, the reality is far different, as many of the orphans continue to suffer from malnutrition and grueling training. 5 years later, a soldier sits in a room and asks Hajin about the time since he first joined them. Hajin replies that it has been 5 years. The official recalls Hajin's various operations, including 3 Chinese espionage missions and 2 Russian operations. He hands Hajin a file, saying that a new operation is ready for him to undertake. Hajin is shocked when the officer instructs him to go to South Korea for his next operation. The officer asks him to pose as an orphan from Hamgyongdo, North Korea, claiming to have escaped after suffering in the country. He tells Hajin to erase his records from the North Korean organization, making it clear that he will receive no support from them and will have to escape on his own. While attempting to escape the country, Hajin nearly gets caught but manages to cleverly reach South Korea and make it to the Korean embassy. As he realizes that this could be his chance to break free from his past, he decides to defect to South Korea. Hajin accepts that he is a spy from North Korea, understanding that this is the opportunity he needs to protect Haeyoung. Later, while casually working out in his room, Hajin hears a constant banging on the main door. He cautiously approaches it, holding a dumbbell in his hand. To his relief, the person on the other side identifies herself as Youngji. He opens the door to find her soaked in the rain with grocery bags in her hands. After handing him one of the bags, Youngji goes inside. As Hajin closes the door, he notices a paper near the main door and decides to pick it up. Youngji spots Hajin and asks what's written on the paper, and Hajin casually informs her that he needs to go outside for a moment. Sitting under a bus stand, he reads the paper and discovers it's a schedule for the upcoming Inter-Korean Summit. As he studies the schedule, he realizes he needs to gain the support of key groups like the Yongjun Group, the National Intelligence Service, and the Bukta Group. Soon, Hajin notices 2 members of the Special Task Force approaching him. One of the team members responds that they didn't have his phone number, so they had to deliver the paper in person. As Hajin inquires about his next move, another team member reveals that he must complete his first mission as a special unit of the Bukta faction soon. Handing Hajin a poster of a half-naked girl, one of the team members asks if he is a virgin. Chapter 38. As Hajin remains silent for a moment, the team member repeats his question. However, Hajin responds that he is a minor, prompting the team member to contact his South Korean, insisting that North Korea does not even have such a rule. He tells Hajin to follow them, assuring him that they will help him become an adult. Meanwhile, Jongmin plays FIFA with his brother, who scores a goal using Son of South Korea, remarking that he is indeed a skilled player. Since his brother takes the lead in the game, Jong Min makes an unexpected comeback and wins. He reminds his brother to hand over the bet money. When his brother gives him 50,000 won, Jong Min gets upset and demands the full amount as agreed before the bet. As his brother hesitates, Jong Min instructs him to transfer the rest to the same bank account where he receives pocket money each month. Checking the transaction, Jong Min teases his brother, remarking that he will surely run out of money soon if he keeps losing bets in addition to giving him an allowance. However, his brother reassures him, stating that the amount he gives is so small, he considers it nothing more than tax money. When Jong Min hugs his brother, he expresses that he likes him a lot. Just then, Sik-young asks if Jong Min is free the next night, revealing that he plans to give him a birthday present. Jong Min grows excited and confirms whether Sik-young truly intends to do so. At that moment, Jeongmin's father, Kang Hyeon-ho, Bukdu group lord of Jangsan faction, enters the room and seems surprised to see Jong Min and Sik-young so close. While complimenting them for getting along, he advises them not to become too close. Sik-young bows to Jeongmin's father and takes his leave, stating that he understands what Hyeon-ho means. Hyeon-ho sits down and addresses Jong Min, telling him to pay close attention to his words. As he touches a nearby plant, he shows his finger and points out that it is black. Attempting to explain, he remarks that even plants become dirty while existing among people, warning him to be cautious and not to trust others. As Hyeon-ho begins discussing Shinsuke and Jangsan faction of Bukta group, Jong Min grows frustrated and respectfully asks his father to stop, insisting that he is neither interested in nor connected to it as he is the third child. Jong Min takes his leave and advises his father to rest. The next night, Shin Do-ho, boss of the Shinsuke faction of Bukta group, lounges casually near his private swimming pool while referring to Hyeon-ho as a greedy old man. As he observes that all four factions, including Jangsan faction, Kangdong faction, International Federation faction, and even their own Shinsuke faction operate under Bukta group, he demands internal restructuring, arguing that they can no longer survive on the scraps left behind by Bukta group. He soon turns to Teacher Jang, owner of the Incheon gambling boat and advisor to the Shinsuke faction, and asks if he is correct. Meanwhile, Jong Min meets Suk-young, who eagerly waits for him to give his birthday present. As Suk-young leads Jong Min into a strange building and begins opening a door, Jong Min senses an unusual atmosphere, wondering if the place is a hidden gem. Assuring Jong Min not to worry, Suk-young claims that the atmosphere inside the room is entirely different and far more impressive. As he opens the door, he wishes Jong Min a happy birthday and reveals multiple girls trapped inside. Jong Min is stunned as one of the girls stands up and greets him. Elsewhere, Teacher Jang agrees with Shin Do-ho, stating that Hyeon-ho has led a ruthless organization like the Bukta group for 20 years without drawing attention, describing him as strong-willed and broad-minded. As Shin Do-ho concurs, he reveals that instead of confronting Hyeon-ho directly, he has actually set a trap for him. The bait, Jong Min, grows uneasy upon seeing the girls and admits that the present does not feel right. Before he can react, Suk-young denies him any chance to leave and kicks him in the stomach, sending him flying. As Jong Min crashes onto the floor, Suk-young shuts the door and locks it from the outside, leaving Jong Min pounding on it from within. Sung Sik-young, a member of the Shinsuke faction of Bukta group, laughs and reminds Jong Min that he had promised to give him a birthday present. Noting that his father is too greedy to pass down the Jangsan faction, he declares that Jong Min will now manage a prostitution establishment, leaving him in shock. Suk-young brings up the bank transaction where he sent Jong Min pocket money, claiming that the police will undoubtedly view it as revenue from the prostitution ring. Checking his watch, Suk-young remarks that the police will arrive soon, revealing that he has already spoken to the officers in advance. As Jong Min desperately tries to stop Suk-young, Shin Do-ho calmly fishes by the pool, remarking that the bait has been caught and all that remains is for Hyeon-ho to make his next move. Laughing, Shin Do-ho pulls a fish from the water, convinced that Jeongmin's reckless actions will lead to Hyeon-ho losing his rights as a lord. Chapter 39. After pounding on the door for a while, Jong Min decides to take out his phone and call his father. However, as soon as he dials the number, he realizes that there is no signal and the call cannot go through. Frustrated, He throws the phone aside and forcefully kicks the door, hoping it will break under enough pressure. After delivering a few powerful blows, he successfully breaks the lock and pushes the door open. Glancing at the girls trembling in fear, he decides to flee, understanding that he has no time to worry about anyone but himself. Just then, a few Shinsky faction gang members approach him and tell him not to break the doors of the place, jokingly reminding him that, despite everything, the place officially belongs to him. Meanwhile, Teacher Jang observes that Jong Min is actually a fighter, remarking that capturing him will not be easy. Shin Do-ho agrees, explaining that he has already prepared for the possibility of Jong Min attempting to escape by force. Standing before the gang members, Jong Min suddenly freezes in shock as he spots Lim Ha-jin rushing toward him. As Jong Min takes down one of the gang members, Ha-jin charges at him, leaving him even more bewildered. Attempting to kick Ha-jin, Jong Min quickly realizes that Ha-jin is actually trying to fight him. Ha-jin effortlessly dodges his attack, recalling his conversation with the Special Task Force. While seated on a bus with them, one of the task force members had explained that their goal for the mission was to form alliances with the Black Society and strengthen their connections with powerful groups. Another member had agreed, stating that it was a great opportunity to establish their influence in South Korea. As both task force members stepped off the bus, they expressed their expectations for Ha-jin's performance, emphasizing that the Republic was relying on him. Now, in the present, Ha-jin swiftly rushes at Jong Min, who manages to block his strike. As Jong Min retaliates, he grows increasingly confused about Ha-jin's choice to assist the Shinsky faction of the Bukta group. Ha-jin skillfully evades more of Jong Min's attacks and eventually maneuvers behind him, locking him in a chokehold. Within moments, Jong Min loses consciousness and collapses to the ground. Meanwhile, the Yongjun group gathers for a reunion at a restaurant, calmly having dinner together. As R.A. Jinman, CEO of Yongjun Sales and Distribution, comments on their leader's lateness, he grows frustrated. However, R.A. Hong-tak, the eldest son of the Yongjun family, asks everyone to wait a little longer, explaining that they are actually quite busy. When Jinman's wife, Hong Yang, executive director of Yongjun Sales and Distribution, taunts Hong-tak's mother for being of no use now that she is past her prime, she questions how they could even be busy. Enraged, Hong-tak warns Hong Yang to choose her words carefully, reminding her that although she is not his biological mother, she has cared for him since childhood. Nervous, Hong Yang awkwardly laughs, insisting that she was only joking. R.A. Jinman quickly shifts the conversation by bringing up the second daughter of the Yongjun family, R.A. Hongju, and asking if she is working as a civil servant. Suggesting that she should have become a celebrity like her mother instead, he questions why she chose such a job. Laughing, Hongju admits that she lacks talent in that field and adds that she actually finds her current job much more enjoyable than being a celebrity. Just then, R.A. Hong-tak counters her, asserting that work is not about enjoyment but about earning money. Leaving Hongju in an awkward silence, he remarks that it is time for Senator Jang Hae-jin's eldest son to marry, instructing her to make room in her schedule so he can arrange a meeting for them. As Hongju grows upset, he urges her to think about the group. Mentioning Hongmi, he advises her to be more forward-thinking, reminding her that their father always says the family has no place for anyone who does not contribute to the company. The third daughter of the Yongjun family, R.A. Hongmi, calmly laughs and assures R.A. Hong-tak not to worry, promising that she will take care of it. Just then, Hongmi brings up a few special task force members and asks Hong-tak about their identities, mentioning that she saw them meeting with him the other day. Pausing for a moment, Hong-tak tells her not to dwell on it, explaining that it is merely a business relationship. Although she agrees, she senses something suspicious, realizing that he is actually hiding something from them. At that moment, Hongmi's attention shifts to her phone as she receives a text message from Hyenho, asking for her help. Meanwhile, the police arrive at the scene, looking confused as they notice the door already broken. Entering the room, they grow even more puzzled upon seeing Jong Min lying unconscious on the floor. The girls attempt to wake him, calling him their boss and warning that they are in trouble, having already been instructed to address him that way. As the police officers approach Jong Min, he suddenly regains consciousness and quickly traps both of them. Using a handcuff, he ties one officer's hand to the other's foot. Glancing at the girls, he realizes that while he initially intended to save them, they are all actually on the same side as the Shinsky faction. As he descends the floors, he recalls his conversation with Lim Hajin during the moment he was being choked from behind. When Hajin briefly loosened his grip, he had instructed Jong Min to pretend to be unconscious for a while and escape as soon as he found an opportunity. While trying to flee, Jong Min suddenly spots a muscular man standing in the hallway. Turning toward him, he attempts to land a kick, but the man easily blocks his attack. As Jong Min takes a closer look, he quickly recognizes the man as Hongmi's driver, Adam. Adam promptly asks Jong Min to calm down and makes a call to Hongmi, informing her that he has found Jong Min and arrived at the location just in time. Chapter 40, on the other hand, Hyein-ho meets with his partner, who remarks that he must be feeling worried. While drinking vodka, Hyein-ho sets his cup down and explains that there is nothing to be concerned about when a child makes mistakes. However, the man points out that sometimes a child's mistake becomes a parent's burden, forcing them into a corner. As Hyein-ho pours him another drink, he asks if the New World Gang intends to use this opportunity against him. The man confirms that Hyein-ho is already aware of everything. When Hyein-ho asserts that the situation will not unfold as the New World Gang hopes, the man agrees, commenting that this is precisely why Hyein-ho chooses not to intervene personally. Meanwhile, Liam recognizes Jong Min as Sae Byok's friend and urges him to calm down. Jong Min stops attacking and demands to know why Liam is there. However, before Liam can answer, Jong Min hurriedly searches for his phone, determined to call his father and explain everything. Liam stops him, revealing that it is unnecessary, as his father already knows and is the one who asked Hongmi to assist him. Jong Min, shocked and confused, listens as Liam further explains that Hyein-ho cannot afford to step forward in a situation like this. Elsewhere, the Special Task Force members enjoy the night on the swings. One of them questions why Lim Hajin was assigned to this mission, noting that it might be difficult for him to capture Jong Min since they attend the same school. He further mentions Hajin's involvement in the Ma Yom-tong incident with Jong Min. As the first member stops swinging, he admits that he wants to befriend Hajin. Listening carefully, he learns that Hajin joined the task force under direct orders from higher-ups, but expresses his personal desire to become friends with him, impressed that Hajin was recruited at such a young age. He then voices his concern, wondering whether Hajin is genuinely loyal or merely putting on an act. Meanwhile, as Liam travels with Jong Min, he explains how much effort was put into framing him, pointing out that they used his pocket money transactions to paint him as a pimp. When Liam adds that Shinsky faction will now drop the search order for him, Jong Min grows frustrated, venting that he is trapped in this situation despite having no interest in gangs or the Bukta group. Noticing Jiang Min's discomfort, Liam listens as Jong Min emphasizes the need to trace the connection between those who framed him and Yuljiro, the prostitution site. Liam advises him not to act recklessly, explaining that yanking at a tangled thread too quickly only makes the knot worse. Instead, he tells Jong Min to focus on the end of the thread and find the smallest clue. When Liam asks Jong Min about the place he visited, Jong Min recalls its details and eventually mentions spotting a white car parked nearby. Interrupting, Liam asks if it was a Kia Soul model. Jong Min confirms that it was a compact car, and Liam reveals that he saw the same car when he arrived to rescue him. As he recites the car's license plate number, he realizes that this will be their starting point in unraveling the truth. Jong Min agrees to Liam and, considering he is in love with Sae Byok, mentions Liam as his father-in-law, which confuses Liam. However, Liam's attention quickly shifts when he receives a call from Hongmi. He greets her and explains that they need help tracking down a car they saw. Meanwhile, Hajin enjoys his meal while the Special Task Force expresses gratitude for his hard work with the Yuljiro matter. The bodyguards, noticing the formality in the task force's tone, wonder who Hajin is for the boss to be so intimidated. Another bodyguard tells him to be quiet, explaining that Hajin managed to become part of the new Special Task Force team at such a young age, leaving the first bodyguard shocked. As Hajin eats his hamburger, He realizes the urgency of gaining the Black organization's support before the 4th summit to save Haeyoung. He remembers his promise to Hyeonho and acknowledges that he must focus on gathering proof that Kang Jeongmin's situation is linked to the North Organization and the New World Gang, rather than just working as a special task force member. Just then, the man beside him shares all the details of their work with the New World Order. Noticing the absence of the business ledgers, Hajin remarks that this is the best evidence they could have gotten. The man hesitates before revealing that the New World Gang took the ledgers a few days ago. Hajin's determination grows, and he decides to visit the place where the ledgers were kept. Elsewhere, the owner of the white Kia Soul casually stands near his car. From a distance, a group of guys notices him and asks Mizion to approach him. As Mizion begins to cry and resists, the guys force her to go. Realizing she has no other choice, Mizion reluctantly approaches the car. The man notices her and asks if she's from the app he booked, to which she agrees. He compliments her and invites her to sit beside him in the car. Mizion is shocked when the man flirts with her, especially after noticing her skirt. Looking back at the guys, Mizion starts crying, realizing she has no choice but to obey. The man notices Mizion crying and steps closer, placing a hand on her shoulder. He tries to reassure her, claiming he's just trying to help. However, before he can say more, Jongmin and Liam approach from behind. Jongmin slams the car owner's face into the car's window. Jeongmin's attention quickly shifts to the guys who were with Mizion moments ago, seeing them rushing toward them, clearly ready to intervene. Jongmin and Liam stand confidently in front of the approaching guys, ready to face them head-on. Chapter 41. Jongmin and Liam quickly overpower the group of guys, taking down the first with a swift strike and effortlessly handling the others. With the last man still standing, they pin him down, ensuring he has no way to escape. On the other hand, the car owner tries to flee, but he soon gets caught by Jongmin and Liam. The man pleads, revealing he fled the area out of fear of the police, but Jongmin and Liam remain unfazed. They hang him on a pole, leaving him suspended and powerless. As Jongmin checks his phone, he learns that the man was just a customer, not directly involved. Liam inspects the man's wallet but finds nothing suspicious. The man tries to explain, claiming he only wanted to meet local girls, but his relief is short-lived when Jongmin reveals a phone with his wife's number dialed. The man attempts to create an excuse, but both Jongmin and Liam leave him behind, walking toward Mizion. Mizion, seemingly unaware of Yuljiro, reveals that she had received a similar offer to the one Jongmin and Liam are investigating. She gives them a card, and Liam immediately notices the name. It seems the man who offered her the deal is their new target. Meanwhile, Hajin enters a restaurant, having been informed earlier by a man that the company is collecting money at a hot pot restaurant in Daelimdong. The man had tried to explain that the place was merely a mediator, but Hajin spots someone sitting inside. As a waiter tries to get Hajin to leave, insisting that it's their meal break, Hajin ignores him and confronts the man about the money they receive from the Cutter gang. The man denies knowing anything, which frustrates Hajin. Realizing the man might not speak, Hajin kicks the soup pot in front of him. Another man, sitting nearby, gets furious and charges at Hajin, but he is quickly knocked out with a single kick. One chef tries to choke Hajin from behind while another attacks him with a knife. Hajin grabs the attacker behind him, swings him into the chef, and knocks both down. As the first man attempts to hide and call for backup, Hajin spots him and throws a knife near him, demanding he come out. The man surrenders and stands, revealing that all the money from the Cutter gang goes to the Incheon gamblers' boat. The man explains that the money is placed in white envelopes marked with the Chinese characters for Black Tiger. Realizing he was deceived the last time at the Incheon gamblers' boat, Hajin begins to beat him. The man pleads, insisting he is telling the truth and that the money is sent to Mr. Jang. Hajin decides to trust him and heads to the boat. A man at the boat notices Hajin and tells his security to open the door, claiming he received a call from Daelimdong and asks Hajin to follow him. On the other hand, a woman tries to convince a girl to listen to her. When the girl hesitates, the woman insists that the girl could start a new life if she just closes her eyes and works for a month. The woman then asks if the girl plans to return to her father, who always mistreats her. The woman's daughter agrees with her mother, claiming she is offering the best advice. As the daughter points out that the girl always makes the wrong choices, she urges her to listen to her mother and take the job, saying the girl is already experienced in dealing with people. The girl agrees, and the woman, pleased, looks at her daughter, realizing they've successfully trapped her. The woman's attention shifts to the door as Liam and Jong Min enter the room. The woman greets them and asks how they managed to get there, to which Jong Min jokingly replies that they arrived by car. Meanwhile, Hajin follows a man onto the boat, who leads him to a room. Inside, the man informs Hajin that Mr. Jang is right in front of him. When Hajin confirms the name, he immediately demands that Mr. Jang hand over the Cutter Gang's account book. Mr. Jang instead asks if Hajin isn't curious about how easily he was able to meet him. Hajin warns him not to try anything, saying that it might backfire. The man laughs and comments on Hajin's confidence, adding that Mr. Jang is definitely interested in him. Hajin is taken aback as he realizes the man in front of him is not Mr. Jang but someone else. The man explains that people call him Mr. Jang, but the real Mr. Jang is hiding his identity. Just then, another man enters the room, catching Hajin's attention. As soon as Hajin sees him, he's shocked when the man addresses him, saying that he hasn't changed after all these years. Chapter 42. The man stands before Hajin and asks if he remembers him. Without hesitation, Hajin guesses that the man is Jang Inyang, vice leader of the orphan gang, and asks how he's been. Inyang, noticing Hajin's surprise, tells him to calm down and calls him captain, just like in their childhood. On the other hand, Liam shows the woman a photo of Mizion and asks if she recognizes her. The woman denies knowing the girl, claiming that she manages many girls and can't identify someone just from a picture. Meanwhile, her daughter blushes as Jongmin waves at her. Suddenly, Jongmin grabs the girl and slams her head onto the table, declaring that he doesn't hesitate to deal with women. The girl cries and calls for her mother's help as Jongmin reveals that their shop suffered a major loss because of Mizion and demands to know where she is. The woman begins to panic and admits that she doesn't know, but she had introduced Mizion to an entertainment agency. As Jongmin releases the girl, Liam praises him. The woman is confused when Jongmin claims that interrogations like this are easy, which frustrates her. Liam quickly punches her in the face, demanding to know who she sold the kids to. Meanwhile, Inyang recalls that 7 years ago, when his comrades were lying on the ground, bleeding and slowly dying, he kept quiet and hid his presence from the soldiers. Even after they left, he remained still, too terrified to move. Inyang stands confidently before Hajin, suggesting that Hajin should have united with the orphans and fought the soldiers rather than securing one of the remaining spots. He claims to understand Hajin's situation, explaining that Hajin fought to protect his sister, Haeong. As Inyang stretches and confirms that Hajin is seeking information about the Cutter Gang, he proposes that Hajin must defeat him to get the intel. Hajin watches calmly as Inyang reveals that he is no longer Inyang but Mr. Jang now. Back with the woman, she admits that she introduced Mizion to Level Entertainment because she needed the money. Explaining that counselors are poorly paid, she says she handed over the attractive kids to the agency for a fee, where they were used by VIP producers and songwriters. Liam and Jongmin leave and soon arrive at Level Entertainment. Confidently walking through the gate, 2 guards spot them. As Jongmin and Liam prepare to fight, the guards bow and greet them, referring to them as producers and leading them inside. They are taken to a room with multiple girls, and the guard mentions they've prepared the full level course. Just as the guard is about to leave, everyone's attention shifts to a man approaching the room, apologizing for his lateness. Liam and Jongmin realize the man must be the producer. They take control of the situation and begin interrogating the man who guided them there. As the producer tries to speak during the interrogation, calling them human traffickers, Liam slaps him for interrupting. Jongmin grows angry as the man reveals much of their business. As Jongmin browses through a book on the table, he spots a photo of the same girl he met in Yuljiro. He shows the photo to the man, asking if he knows who she is. The man denies knowing her, claiming she was sent to a shop in Jongro. Liam and Jong-min decide to check the shop but find it empty. Liam looks at the shop and realizes that the culprits must have packed up and run, likely tipped off. Just then, Liam notices several receipts scattered on the floor and picks one up to examine it. When he looks at the receipt, he realizes it's the same one he found in Lee Mingu's wallet. He decides to cross-check, pulling out the receipt from Mingu's wallet. Both Liam and Jong-min are shocked to discover it's the same receipt. While Hajin attempts to strike Mr. Jang, he easily dodges his attacks. In-young swiftly moves behind Hajin, capturing his arm and locking him in a neck hold. As Hajin struggles to break free, In-young bites his hand. Hajin retaliates by throwing In-young into a nearby bookshelf. Quickly distancing himself, Hajin watches In-young wipe the blood from his face and taunt him, calling his moves dull. As In-young gets up, he mocks Hajin, questioning if Hajin betrayed Haeong, since he heard that Hajin is a defector. In-young mentions Haeong, remarking that she looks good enough to be used by someone in North Korea. Hearing this, Hajin becomes enraged, charging at In-young and landing a powerful punch that sends him flying across the room. The man who was initially claiming to be Mr. Jang rushes to help In-young up, asking if he is okay. Hajin confidently stands before them, declaring that he will now take the fight seriously. Chapter 43. Hearing Hajin's resolve, In-young quickly charges at him, attempting to grab him. However, Hajin skillfully dodges the attack, using In-young's momentum to land a powerful kick to his face. As In-young loses his balance, Hajin follows up with a punch that knocks him to the ground. Just then, the other man approaches Hajin, but Hajin evades his strike and manages to secure a neck hold on him. In-young, however, recovers quickly and lands a kick to Hajin's face, knocking him back. As In-young sits on him and begins throwing punches, Hajin shields his face with his hand, blocking the blows. Spotting an opening, Hajin grabs In-young's arm and rolls him over, attempting to break it. But In-young uses his agility to grab Hajin's eye from behind, managing to completely damage it. Taking advantage of the situation, In-young bites into Hajin's neck and then starts headbutting his face. As Hajin lies motionless on the ground, In-young thinks he's won and orders the man to mince Hajin's body for an indoor fishing pond. However, the man suddenly shouts for In-young to look behind. In-young, startled, turns to find Hajin gripping his face, smashing it repeatedly into the floor. With In-young dazed, Hajin prepares to finish him with a decisive punch. But as he remembers his time with the orphan gang's vice leader, he hesitates, sparing In-young's life. Instead, Hajin turns to the man, demanding that he hand over the Cutter Gang's ledger. The man, unfazed, points a gun at Hajin's head, declaring that he will never give up the ledger. Meanwhile, Lee Mingu stands at a distance from his wrecked car, patiently waiting for another girl he booked that day. As she approaches and notices his bruised face, she asks about it. Mingu greets her, casually claiming that he lives a rough life. However, As the girl reacts with shock, Mingu senses that something is off. Before he can process it, Liam and Jongmin appear beside him, whispering in his ear, advising him to just go home and stop what he's doing. Before he can resist, they trap him on the same pole as before, securing him tightly after the girl flees the scene. With Mingu restrained, they interrogate him about how he pays for prostitutes, specifically if he uses his card at that gas station. Mingu admits to it, explaining that they pay a small commission to nearby 24-hour businesses, using their card readers to launder the transactions. Understanding the scheme, Liam and Jongmin leave the scene, walking away as Mingu remains tied to the pole, left alone to contemplate his situation.